We won't hear any more until we get back to it.
Mine's making more noise.
You doing that? Okay. Good morning. Am I on? Yeah.
I heard it here.
Good morning. I'd like to call our meeting to order, please. Welcome everyone to the Jackson County Board of Supervisors, July the 3rd, 2023 Supervisors Board meeting. And I'd like to wish everyone a very happy 4th of July and happy birthday to America as of tomorrow. The devotion is District 3, which is me. I'm delighted. We all know the CEO of United Way, Mr. T. McCovey. T is also the pastor at Worship Center. And if we had an unofficial chaplain, it would be the Reverend T. McCovey. Come on, sir.
Thank you, Ken. The unofficial chaplain with no salary. I was thinking this morning of all that's going on in the world, right? And how it fits into basically society is volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, and it's ambiguous. So how do we survive in this type of a climate? And I'm reminded of the Apostle Peter. You remember when he walked on the water? When he looked at Jesus, he was fine. And the scripture says, when the wind became boisterous, he looked at the wind and the waves, and he began to sink. So in this climate that we're in now, let's continue to keep our eyes on Jesus. The Bible says he's the author and the finisher of our faith. He starts it. And in the book of Isaiah, God says this of himself. He said, I am the beginning and the end. I declare the end from the beginning before the story is even told. So now there is another foe that we have to deal with. This fellow called Satan, Lucifer, the devil, our adversary, whatever you want to call him. But whatever you call him, remember he's a defeated enemy. Because when Jesus got up from the grave, remember the scripture says he got up with what? All power and authority in his hands. Satan has some power, and he's limited with that power. You remember Job. When Job when Satan went to heaven and the angels were presenting themselves and giving their report, and God said, have you considered my servant Job? Job was minding his own business. He was an upright man. But Satan still came and harassed. You remember he lost 10 kids. Not only because we tend to put the focus on all the stuff that he lost. But you remember Job lost 10 kids. And you remember what his wife said to him? You ought to curse God and die. Job said, you sound like a foolish woman. But you go on to Job 42, when she had that, and remember he lost 10, Job lost 10 kids. She had to have 10 more kids for saying, you ought to curse God and die. God said, okay, I got something for you. Remember, Job's kids were grown. So she had to have 10 more kids. after this assault. Let us pray. Father God, we thank you for another blessed day. We give you glory and honor and praise for who you are, Lord. And you're such an awesome God. You're such a mighty God. Lord, we thank you for all of your blessings that you bestowed upon us, Lord. And we just pray, Lord, that you would give us the mind and the wisdom, Lord, of how to be of service in our community. Lord, I lift up our board meeting this morning. Lift up our supervisors to you, Lord God, and pray, Lord, for them and their families, that you would surround them with godly wisdom, Lord. Lord, we love you because you demonstrated your love for us, that while we were yet in our sins, you sent your Son to die a cruel death on a cross for us. And Lord Jesus, we will never, ever forget what you have done for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Brian, Josh, I picked up on it. We need in the budget to give some consideration for a handsome raise for our unofficial chaplain. Make it a healthy percentage. Okay, next on the order, on the agenda is we have a presentation of the Mississippi Association of Supervisors County Employee Scholarship, and this is going to Mr. Gavin Montefort. Let's go down and present. There it is. This is a certificate of recognition presented to Captain C. Montefort, 2023 recipient of the MAS County Employee Scholarship awarded by the Mississippi Association of Supervisors and the Jackson County Board of Supervisors. Awarded this first day of May 2023. And this is something very unusual. I've got the money. There you go. Give us, what are you doing? Where are you going?
I'm going to college and I'll be majoring in nursing.
All right. All right. Picture, anyone else want to comment? Don't go away.
Squeeze together a little bit. Watch out for the.
Very good.
Thank you, sir. Congratulations. We got a fire.
I don't think we're, hang on. Okay, next on the agenda is a presentation of community safety grant from CenterPoint Energy to the West Jackson County Fire Department. Is CenterPoint presenting that, or are we presenting?
No, they got the big check right
We got a big check, and if you allow me to have a few things
Sure.
to read for you here, and you guys have come up. Thank you all for letting us come this morning. Appreciate that. My name is Kerry Darrow. I'm the local area manager for CenterPoint here, and out of the Gulfport office, but we cover the whole Gulf Coast area. And with me is Austin Harper, our damage prevention coordinator. So CenterPoint always wants to be part of the community, and if you'll allow me, I've got something I'd like to read. Community Partnership Grant Program offers opportunities for CenterPoint Energy to invest in our cities and counties that we serve. For over 145 years, we've partnered with communities supporting our shared commitment to safety while delivering safe, reliable natural gas. Since 2003, the program has awarded more than $2.8 million and provided funding to support over 1,000 projects in the communities through our CenterPoint service territories. Through this grant program, we're able to help cities leverage local funds needed safety equipment and support our projects that are important to our communities. Today, we're here to present the West Jackson County Fire Department with a community partnership grant of $2,500 that will be used to purchase battery-powered saws for multiple fire apparatuses. So we want to thank the West Jackson County Fire Department. And as a guy that's been out in the field, who's been out on these emergency gas leaks and things like that, it's comforting to know that these guys are there with you and helping and supporting you as we get our jobs done and helping keep our community safe. So we want to thank the West Jackson County Fire Department and all of our first responders throughout our communities. So thank you. If I could have someone take a picture for us. Get in here.
Come on right there. And they're right by the check. You did sign it, right?
She's gonna take a couple of those. All right, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for letting us come.
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, let's spend it on the workshop. Good, thank you.
Okay, we'll move to item number 5 in the agenda, which is amendments to the agenda. Mr. Cumbus,
I don't have any.
Mr. Morris.
Don't have anything.
I have none. Mr. Ross. Mr. Bosarge.
None.
Mr. Eldridge.
I have one for executive session in relation to the hospital.
Okay. Mr. Fulton.
No.
Mr. O'Neill.
None.
Mr. Calmer.
None.
Does anyone else have an amendment to the agenda? Yes, ma'am. Come on.
I'm requesting to amend employee information, and I've already provided you all with a copy.
Okay, we have that. Okay, thank you. Any others? If not, we'll need a motion to approve the amendments to the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Morris,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Bosarge. Was that Cumbus or Bosarge? That
No,
was
it
Mr.
don't matter.
Bosarge, I'm sorry. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign, motion carries. We will move to item number 7, general public comments. Is there anyone here today that would like to address the public, the board? If so, please stand up, come identify yourself at the microphone, and speak.
Pam Blakeney, and you probably know why I'm here. You're not allowed to talk to me except to go through this man right here, the attorney. And what I've got, I have lived out on Pine Island, Marsh Island Drive for almost 30 years. With the road, Marsh Island Drive, Randy, you've been my supervisor, and for the last 2 years I've been coming to you. I have got a letter here from the Planning Commission that says this road was vacated in 2007, given a tax parcel number, and that the people would have to be responsible for the road and get it dedicated. What I've got is a petition here from your courts. In the court order, they pulled me in as a plaintiff without my knowledge, my consent. In other words, they wanted this plat done, this whole thing vacated. What I've got is an order, partially, not fully, partially vacating this property. What I have here is from your tax assessor's office, showing this road wasn't partially vacated, but it was fully vacated 5 days after this order. And this was issued in violation of the order. The order was stipulated that everything could be vacated but that road. And with the stipulation, there was subject to the requirement that there be a new road built before that road could be vacated and before anybody could be vested with title. So when it gets vacated 5 days after, this court order is issued in violation of that order, and everybody lets it go through. And I've got your name on this too, Mr. Randy, at the very top, so you know about it. You just flip-flopped the way this goes to make it look like, instead of being in violation of the order, you let them get it through. I don't know what kind of deal they got or how this is. I mean, I know more than what I'm saying, and Mr. Calmer has some of it too, and all of you do. But I have had to walk for the last 6-7 weeks from that second crack bridge to my house bringing everything, and I am ticked. And when I have been lied to by my county for the last 2 years, I'm furious. That's all I've got to say. I need help with this road. This is a public road. It was never legally vacated. And how there's a lock on it and how it keeps staying there now that I know this and why people can't come in. This is their road too, not just the RV park. So somebody needs to explain to me how this got through.
Ms.
Thank
Blake,
you.
how long you had your house for sale out there?
Me?
Yeah.
I took it off and I just put it up yesterday for private. I talked to an attorney. It's not because I have to sell it or I want to sell it. It's because my kids and everybody said I'm old and I need to sell it. So it's a whatever, if I feel like it, if I'm in the mood. And as far as my house being for sale, Randy, that's nobody's business. This is separate and different from my house.
Well,
Different.
legal has told you multiple times that
And they have
there's
never.
nothing we can do with that road.
This is what I'm asking about, whether you do something or not. Somebody needs to answer, be accountable, because this is fraud. And how it got through, and how you lied to me on this, why there's a change
What
order.
document you have with my name on it? Because I wasn't even on the board when all that was done. So,
Randy, this has, when I went to the planning commission, I've been coming to you for 2 years.
yeah.
The planning commissioner was Michelle here, Michelle. Your name's up there at the top, and you know darn well that I've been to you so many times that this is.
Wait, that's an email. That's nothing. That's no court document. That's an
No,
email.
this is the court documents. They were referring to the court documents.
Yeah. I know you're trying to character assassinate me
No,
on this election. I know you're trying to do that, and I'm not going to stand for that, Ms. Blakeney. I told you that. I'm not going to stand for that.
Don't circumvent
So,
what I'm saying.
no,
There's a court
that's an email you have there. That with my name on it. It's not a court document.
Well,
That's an email.
Put it out there, everybody
Yeah,
can see. We don't
yeah.
want to do that.
Well,
This change order is a from the tax assessors. This order to partially vacate, and this petition to vacate the plan. Those are ABC simple for anybody. You can't do that in 5 days. It doesn't work, and not legally.
this was 2007, Ms. Blakeney. I wasn't even in office in
It doesn't matter
2007.
what-
Yeah, it does.
There is no statute of limitations on fraud, so.
Oh, goodness.
This road is still, and you can't talk your way out of this one.
I'm not talking my way out of it. I'm telling you, there's nothing the county can do with it.
Well, Mr. Calmer, he's not even allowed to talk to me, is he, Mr. Calmer?
Mr. Taylor, just for the board's knowledge, Mr. Evans, as I understand, did look at this issue. There's a file that Mr. Evans, before he retired, left in his office that I have on my desk. I have told Ms. Blakeney, as a matter of courtesy, I would look at that. But I wasn't going to take kindly to her accusing the board attorney's office or the county of fraud. I will, as a matter of courtesy, look at it and report to you. But I understand Mr. Evans has already thoroughly looked at this, but I will look at it again to try to bring some resolution to this dispute that apparently has been going on for years.
Yes, sir.
No, sir, it's been 2 years since I found this, and I've got more documents to show that, there was a requirement for this road to be sold and get title to it even prior to the petition, because there was $37 million in debt on a public road. They kept it off the road registry prior to that. Forget about passing this over in this court order. And when I go out of the jurisdiction to get help or ask questions because you won't help, it's a whole different story. They see it, the other jurisdictions don't practice like this.
But did I not tell you that you should sue the county? Did I not tell you that?
To get an attorney, I'm asking for accountability, and this is a public road, it belongs to them. And I don't have to get an attorney, I'm trying to get somebody accountable.
Okay, let me ask you to please sit down and let's remember basic courtesy to our fellow human beings. The attorney's office has said some action had been taken in the past. He's going to review that and then report back to us, and then we can react after that occurs. Could you give a guesstimate? Would that be the next meeting or whenever you can?
I can look over it before the next meeting, yes, sir, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on then. Are there any further citizens' comments? Please identify yourself.
Good morning. I just want to say I bring greetings from the Clayton County Board of Commissioners. I come from Clayton County, Georgia, and I've come because my fiance actually had me to come down here for a trip. And he's Mr. Stephen Henry. He's from Moss Point, Pascagoula. But I just want to say that as I was walking through your county, I saw that you all have had a tornado, which has been a very drastic natural disaster that has hit your county. As I've walked through, we've also had some storms in Clayton County. And if you don't know what Clayton County, Georgia is, we are where the world's largest airport is in Georgia. And we always say it's where opportunities take off and the world lands in Clayton County. I spoke with Mr. Enid on yesterday, and I came today because I would like to offer some assistance from our county. As I saw the trees down, the power lines down, talked to the people within the county, they were saying that, we need help. And I want to be here. I want to help. So if there's anything that I can do to help your county, if there's anything that I can do to help down here in Moss Point and Pascagoula, I have gotten my team together. They're offering water, gift cards, anything that we can do, because we know that it takes a village and it takes all of us working together to make sure things get done. I've seen so many houses devastated through this tornado. I've talked to so many people through this tornado, and Mr. Enid has been very, very gracious to speak with me through all of this. And so again, to all of you who sit on this board, we're called commissioners. You guys are called supervisors here in Moss Point, Pascagoula. I just want to offer our sincerest condolences for what has gone on here in your county, and anything, and I want to say to you, anything that we can do in Clayton County to help with this disaster, we will be here, we will help, and we will lend a helping hand. Thank you.
Well, thank you for calling me as a commissioner, Ms. Anderson, and I want to thank your fiance for bringing you here. Thank you for the courtesy, and we will.
All right. And like I said, the people they've reached out. We have a radio station in Clayton County that is wanting to reach out and help as well. So some of the people will be doing interviews with them this morning, talking about the loss and devastation of their homes and not having the insurance and things of that to cover their homes. So again, anything that we can do to help, we thank you, and we thank you for your hospitality, and we'll be here to help you all. Right. Thank you.
I get back. We'll be getting back with you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any other general public comments? Yes, ma'am? You can get up. There you go.
Yes. I was told I was on the agenda, but I don't think I am, but I'm here. So, my name is Shirley Stilner. I'm from, we have a church in Goche. It's called Life Church of Goche.
You are on the agenda.
I am on the agenda?
Yes, ma'am. Presentation, I believe, right after.
The last page.
So do I need to wait? I had asked the lady beside me, she didn't think I was on there.
Item 11, presentations, Life Church of Goshen.
Okay, you want me
Yeah,
to
yeah.
just wait?
Yeah, if you don't mind, please.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, any other general public comments? If not, we'll move on and approve the consent agenda as amended. Is there a motion? Got a motion from Mr. Morris, seconded by Mr. Cumbest. I have a discussion item. Page 2, Board of Supervisors, Item A, resolution ratifying the proclamation of existence of a local emergency in Moss Point. I don't want to remove it and vote separately, but I would like to have a comment on that, assuming we approve the consent agenda. So we have a motion, we have a second. Are there any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, so motion carries. I've heard some criticism, mostly social media, that things are going very slowly in Moss Point. The governor is not approving emergency declaration, and I wanted to discuss that just for a moment. Friday, we had from MEMA a statement that MEMA is moving forward requesting FEMA to validate the damages. This is out of Pearl, Mississippi. The Mississippi Emergency Management Agency completed damage assessment validations in Jackson and Jasper County following severe weather from June 18th and 19th. MEMA is now requesting FEMA Region 4 to validate those assessment numbers. FEMA's numbers must be used to request a major disaster declaration for individual assistance. Currently, FEMA assistance is not available for Jackson or Jasper County residents. So the system is working. MEMA is moving forward. I'm certain we're going to see a statement from the governor's office. And in my opinion, they're moving as quickly as they can. They're doing a great job. This will be declared a disaster area, and then the federal government can step in and help. And I just wanted to clarify that publicly. Criticism in the social arena is not justified. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to add.
Sure.
Something just for locally, what I saw, and that day, I mean, the rain came in, the storm got bad, and I would say less than 20 minutes, I had heard from Supervisor Morris and the road department, and they had pictures of our road crews out there cleaning roadways. Mm-hmm. We had our emergency operations center folks out there conducting search and rescue and helping. And I just want to say that I'm proud of our county employees. They got out there and worked, and it was still raining. It hadn't even quit raining yet. And Supervisor Morris was out there with us. So it's something to be proud of, to see how we react in storms and how we handle and help each other, and have someone from Clayton County come say they're willing to help too. That makes you feel better about just people in general.
Good, thank you. Okay, probably not here. Is anyone from Earl's office here? Did we see also the mayor of Moss Point? Would you like to have any comment, Mayor?
Well, yeah, other than, I'm here to support, Lehman and our staff here that, bring the resolution to you today, but I thank, the county for all the support they've given us. They've been, on day one, and, we sort of appreciate, I agree with all of them, the cleanup process so far. We still got a long way to go, but, every day is getting better. We appreciate all your support.
Great, thank you. And I'll remind everyone what we're voting on right now. The county declared disaster over a week ago, and we must affirm that as a full board, and that's what we've actually got on the agenda that we're voting on today. Did we vote? We have not. Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank y'all.
We need to vote on the proclamation, on the resolution. You voted for the consent agenda as amended. That was
Yes.
your vote. So now we vote for the resolution ratifying the proclamation that you pulled for a separate.
I didn't pull it. I made a point not to pull it.
Oh, I thought you said you pulled it.
He said, I don't want to pull it, but I want to comment on it. So, I mean, it may have been a little,
I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Is it pulled or not?
If you didn't ask that it be pulled and the agenda amended with it pulled, then it's still on there.
It's on there. As far as I'm concerned.
All right,
The record will show it's on there.
all right, thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Ms. Susan?
No, sir?
Okay, thank you. Okay, we will now move forward with our agenda, consent agenda number 2. And note that Supervisor Ross is excusing himself. Need a motion and a second. I'll make the motion to approve consent agenda number 2. We need a second, and we got a second from Mr. Cumbest. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Mr. Ross is returning to the meeting. We'll move to item 10 on the agenda, department heads. Mr. Fulton.
The item I have is travel, both required and discretionary.
Motion, second. Motion by Mr. Ross, seconded by Mr. Morris. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign if you oppose. Motion carries unanimously. We'll move to finance. Ms. Wells.
Good morning. The first item I have is the order approving the claims docket.
Motion by Mr. Cumbest.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Bossarge. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, and the last item I have is the resolution authorizing the interfund loans for fiscal year September 30, 2023.
Need a motion second.
so moved.
Motion by Mr. Ross. I will second it. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Ma'am. Human Resources. Yes.
Good morning. The item I have before you is employee information.
So moved. Motion by Mr. Cumbest, seconded by Mr. Ross. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. O'Neill, Road Manager.
Good morning. The item I have today is a resolution of the Board of Supervisors of Jackson County, Mississippi, accepting a petition for acceptance of North Bell Fontaine Drive in District 5.
You need 2 people to go look at it?
Yes, sir.
I make that motion.
I'll second. Motion by Mr. Bossard, seconded by Mr. Cumbest.
You can, I'll look.
I'll look.
Okay.
Okay,
Being there.
Mr. Ross and Mr. Cumbest will go look at that.
Now, I've got a question. Well, let's go ahead and finish this first.
Do we vote on it
Yes.
before y'all go look? And then y'all,
Yeah.
yes? Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Okay,
Well, I made a pass through the vendors at the MAS conference that was here in Biloxi a couple weeks ago. And they had a place, there's a place out on Sunplex on Highway 57 that does, like, they spray for weeds and all this type of stuff. And it just piqued my curiosity. You know, we've got a lot of roadways now that are in the county, unincorporated areas with lots of sidewalk, more than we've had, than you would see in most unincorporated areas in most counties in the state. Is it something that we would want to maybe look at, see if we can get them with a contract to where they go spray maybe Lemoyne Boulevard, Cook, maybe some other major road we have?
It's coming.
Instead of having the road department do it, because I just know that hey, a nice brand-new sidewalk can quickly look derelict and just one of those simple things that doesn't have to be because there's so much of it. If you don't spray it or weed eat it and that type stuff.
It's coming. We're gonna need to do something, especially when I-10 connector gets completed, because it's taken, just to cut the half and maintain the half that's completed is eating up a almost full-time crew. So yes, sir, we're gonna have to start putting together some kind of package to take care of the sidewalks.
Hey, and talking about spray, can we use something that's a little less evasive? I mean, you know, that won't be so chemically, use something more natural?
Well, if there's something out there that works. Something out there that works. I've seen the state, as a matter of fact, I've seen the state spraying 613 the other day.
And they have to be cognizant of the wind when they spray, because otherwise it'll get on things that, you know, you went through Ocean Springs about a year or two ago.
Yeah.
Somebody sprayed a lot.
So, but yes, that's something we're gonna have to look at. We ain't gonna have a choice. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, animal control, Mr. Barlow.
Good morning.
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 The item I have before you today is a revision of the animal control ordinances. And this revision centers on really the dangerous animal, deeming of the dangerous animal, and the processes in place to see that from beginning to end. I'm going to kind of share with you some bullet points that I've made that kind of highlight a summary of the meat of these changes. The previous ordinance has a kind of vague, undefined process for how this for how the deeming of a vicious animal kicks off. And so what Averill from Legal and I have done is created in Section 11 clearly defined process for beginning early animal control investigations, even in circumstances where we have citizens who are saying, hey, this dog is vicious, we don't think it's bit anybody. We can begin an investigation at that point in a way that hopefully can mitigate any future problems with those animals. But we also have moved up the timeline on deeming an animal vicious, which can now happen after the first bite. So then, something you guys, I think, will appreciate is the entire deeming process and the appeal process is now routed through the Justice Court where all of our other processes are taking place. And so when we deem an animal vicious, if that owner determines that they want to appeal that, it's no longer heard before this board. It will be through the Justice Court. In fact, that is, again, consistent with every other process that we do regarding dangerous animals going right through Justice Court. Another change in the process is for people who have had dogs who are deemed vicious and they intend to abide by the requirements of the vicious determination, the insurance, the animal liability coverage jumps from $100,000 to $1 million worth of coverage required. And really, that's the meat of the change. Do you have any questions?
So Joe, the ordinance before was they could get the dog back after the second bite. What we're doing, we're changing it to the first along with those new upgraded requirements, correct?
That's correct. And so the way the process will work now is my officers can deem on the first bite if, again, the mitigating circumstances written within the ordinance weren't there. So we have a clear off-property aggression not provoked. Then we can deem them vicious from the first bite. And then, of course, appeal process within the Justice Court.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Okay, got a motion. I will second it. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay, we will now move to item 11 on the agenda, presentations, Jackson County Long-Term Recovery Committee. Ms. Roberts and Mr. Reverend McCovey.
Good morning. 2 weeks ago today, just before 3 o'clock, the EF2 tornado struck the city of Moss Point, which is a rarity in itself because very rarely do tornadoes of this size hit south of I-10, and it was just short of being an EF3. It affected at some level 371 structures in the 6 square mile path within the city limits of Moss Point. 60 of those structures are what's considered destroyed or major damage category that were residences. So we have 60 households in that 6 square mile path that have been destroyed or major damage. The American Red Cross responded immediately with a shelter, and that shelter just closed on Friday. The affected individuals within that shelter were caseworked and found other living conditions to go to. There are, though, other people who have housing needs, and those who do not report into the shelter are handled through casework. The Red Cross continues to do the immediate assistance casework along with Catholic Charities. We have asked that people call the 800 Red Cross number if they have not seen a caseworker and they have major or destroyed level damage. But that is just for the immediate needs. And as we move forward to the long-term needs, the Catholic Charities caseworkers will become the lead caseworkers to do in-depth case management. Lieutenant Governor Hoseman was here last Wednesday, 2 days, or the Wednesday after the storm, and Governor Reeves was here the next day on Thursday, along with the lead of MEMA, Mr. McRaney, and Commissioner Tyndall over public safety. We know that in our world of social media and technology and just the pace at which we live our lives, that patience, while a virtue, is short to find, and we are hard-pressed to find in a lot of people, understandably so when you're one of the ones suffering. But for 2 weeks later, after a storm, with my disaster experience going around the country for Red Cross, as well as responding to Hurricane Katrina and other disasters here locally and throughout Mississippi, we are doing overall pretty well, all things considered. There is pain and suffering to go around, and that will continue, as those of us who survived Hurricane Katrina can attest now as we are about to hit our 18th year of that the hardship and the loss doesn't ever completely go away. But we work to help these families regain some sense of normalcy. And as my good friend, your unofficial chaplain, and my own unofficial chaplain, my personal unofficial chaplain, we all have strong faith in what we're doing and in what our fellow community leaders such as yourself are doing. And we are reminded by Scripture that we are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed. Perplexed, but not in despair. persecuted but not abandoned, struck down but not destroyed. And so we come to you this morning with two requests. The first is that we are able, T with the United Way for Jackson and George counties and now Greene County, and I with the Jackson County Chamber of Commerce, that we are allowed to stand up the Long-Term Recovery Committee for Jackson County. And within that LTRC, we would have the Rebuild Moss Point effort. The reason we are asking for the LTRC Jackson County to re-stand up, because if you'll recall, it stood up after Hurricane Katrina, and I think it dissolved around probably 2010, 2011, somewhere in there, about 5 or 6 years maybe after Hurricane Katrina. But it has been dormant for this county until now. Excuse me. The reason why we are requesting an LTRC Jackson County and not specifically LTRC Moss Point is so that while for this disaster we are dealing with a tornado that hit within the city limits of Moss Point, that at any time that any disaster, man-made or natural, happens within the parameter of the geographical lines of Jackson County, we can just re-stand it up again for those disasters. And what happens very specifically at an LTRC table is that all of the partners, whether they're government, non-government, or faith-based, come to the LTRC table with resources, whether they be manpower, money, or materials. The casework, which in this case would be brought by the case managers of Catholic charities, they would present the cases that have been affected in this case by the Moss Point tornado, in other cases, whatever the disaster may be, and they say this family still needs X, Y, Z. And all of the people around the table would say, oh, I can meet X, or I can meet Y, or Z. And then after all of that, where the various resources and the needs are connected, then we have what we have stood up as of last Thursday, a week ago Thursday, the Rebuild Moss Point Fund that's being managed through M&M Bank, which is the fund of last resort. So that if there are unmet needs that still need addressing, that we may be able to use that fund that is, as I said, going through the 501c3 of United Way, but going through Merchant and Marine Bank account for this purpose. In addition to our request to you that we be allowed to stand up the Long-Term Recovery Committee, we also ask that we have an agreement here with MEMA, because we do this work alongside our partners with MEMA. It is known as DARP, but it is called the Disaster Assistance Repair Program. And if we have an LTRC in place, we can be eligible for up to $250,000 from MEMA specifically for rebuilding materials. That is all that money can go toward, is rebuilding materials. And there is a process through the LTRC which is stood up with bylaws and oversight and fiduciary responsibility that goes with it. So in this case, your blessing and authority is requested at the two levels. One is that we stand this up, and secondly, that you agree to this agreement, which obviously you would have to see and don't have to sign this meeting, but that you would be willing to allow the committee to receive this money with your designated oversight so that we can start to use that for the building materials. The LTRC, we suspect, will actually meet with going forward with your approval probably next Monday or sometime next week. Are there any questions about that before I turn it over to T to discuss the 501c3 role and fiscal agent role that United Way will play? Any questions?
Yes, I talked to Mr. Etridge about the 250, and I was gonna bring it to the board, and he said we'll approve it if we approve it to the board. So I'm with it.
All right, do you have the agreement? Do you
I don't
need
have the
this?
agreement.
You have it or you?
I don't have it.
Okay. No, I don't.
So there's some type of process for an impacted family or whoever had the structure, they apply saying, we need help? And
Okay, so
how do they get selected to get benefit from the 250,000?
Yes. Well, okay, so how it works is through case management. So initially, not all, but initially, they're going through the Red Cross case work process for verification of their need for immediate assistance, meaning that they reach the major or destroyed level. At the same time, Catholic Charities, which is here, whether there's a disaster or not, doing case management for families, they've done some casework as well. And as I said, the Red Cross cases will then be turned over to Catholic Charities. The case managers will bring the cases to the LTRC table. So as we discover people who are in need, who aren't yet being case managed, they will be led to the case managers who will verify their need. And then when it comes to LTRC, they'll already be vetted, and their needs, whether it's building materials or other, will then be discussed by the table. So it's basically identified by them coming forward into the case management process, and then therefore vetted, and then the requests are made. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. And go ahead.
Looking at the FEMA news release I referenced earlier, Jackson County, which is Moss Point, 377 homes or apartments were damaged. Jasper County, the number...
That should be structures. The 377 includes commercial as well as residential. That's why right now we're talking about the residential that are the 60 of those 377.
Okay. And then Jasper County had 51, so the magnitude of the event is quite significant. What I wanted to do is, a lot of these properties, they're virtually all private. A whole lot of the properties are going to have either no insurance or not enough insurance.
Yes, of the 60, we know of about 5 of the 60 households that have major or destroyed damage. About 5 have insurance.
Wow. So what's going to happen? You're going to have either no insurance agent to come in and help you, or you're going to have an insurance adjuster.
Well, it's basically, let's go with the no insurance scenario.
And they're going to say, sorry, you have either no or not enough insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So at the beginning, they're they're destitute. What do they do? Where do they go as far as you're concerned?
They go into case management.
Okay.
And as we find them, or they find us, they will go into the case management process, which is then, what are all of your needs physically, as far as housing goes, health-wise, mental health-wise, what is the issue? As you know, of this 6 square mile path of the tornado, as we said, almost none of them have insurance. Almost all of them are impoverished. Many of them are elderly, and with poverty comes other issues like health issues and other services that they need on a regular day. So when a vulnerable population, which this is hit by a disaster, then it makes it all the more difficult. So case management is the starting point, and that is where we are able to help with the case managers bring those people, and we're able to start looking at what their needs are. You know, many of these families were not what some people would consider whole before the storm. We then tried to bring them back to as much of a normal sense of living as whole as we can, while knowing that it's all relative within your existence.
Yeah. And one of the things that the Long-Term Recovery Committee will do, it will mitigate the fraud. And I know after Katrina or any disaster, you know, it brings out the best in people and it brings out the worst in people. And I've often told this story. The tornado hit Monday. Tuesday morning, we had a guy in the parking lot of United Way when we pulled in. And he said that he needed a voucher or, you know, because we have food cards or cards. He said, I need to get some food. And I heard the counselor ask him, say, well, did you have any, you know, damage to your home? Do you need a tarp? Or, you know, went through this unmet needs litany of questions. And he said, no, the house is fine. The roof is fine. So she said, you mean to tell me that the tornado went in your house and just destroyed nothing but food? Yes, ma'am. So it opened the refrigerator, opened the cupboards, and just wiped out all of your food. Yes, ma'am. All I need is money to get some food, you know. So, I mean, those are the kind of, and Ken, you mentioned, you know, we've seen all of this. Paige and I typically don't look like this. The last couple of weeks, we didn't look like this. I mean, we're, you know, in sweats and I do want to mention, and Monica's not here. Monica's been on the front line, and thank you, Brian, for loaning us to her to us. She's been on the front line since day one as well. So United Way's role, we're the fiscal agent. We will be handling the money. Right now, the money, some money is going to Merchants and Marine Bank. We have a link on our United Way webpage and Facebook. I know we had a pledge of over $200,000 from the community. This money will be private. I know United Way, we've raised over probably $12,000 just on our site alone. So we will have two separate pots of money. You know, one from the DART that we need your blessings on. And keep in mind, the Jackson County Long-Term Recovery Committee is for any disaster that comes down the road. I mean, we're in almost the peak of hurricane season. It may be Ocean Springs next week. It may be Van Cleve. So we won't have to do all of this legwork. And Paige and I have been talking about this since the pandemic hit 3 years ago. We need to get our long-term recovery committee back up and running. So, and she and I have taken the lead on it to make sure that it doesn't lapse again, that anytime any disaster hits Jackson County, we just regroup and go from there. Yeah.
Paige, can I ask a question? This LTRC, I'm assuming it is a formal structure?
With bylaws.
Yeah, I have not seen it, but we've done it before.
Oh, yeah. After Hurricane Katrina, it was called Rebuild Jackson County, and it ran through the chamber when Carla Todd was there, and all of the agencies, as I mentioned, government, non-government, and faith-based, come to the table with the resources, and the cases are managed there.
So Rebuild Jackson County was a long-term...
That was an LTRC, correct. And that's what we're asking basically to resurrect. And in this case, because we're asking to resurrect it because of the immediate need of rebuilding Moss Point.
Is that done, I mean, is that done by statute, or is that something that's, that is allowed? Do you know where that comes from? Because I need to review.
Where an LTRC comes from?
Right, where does that actually come from?
Under MEMA. It's a requirement of me, right.
Meredith Lee is here with individual assistance from MEMA, but LTRCs have been, they're used nationwide after disasters within communities so that all of the resources can come to the table for leverage.
I just wanted to know where the authorization to create them is. It statutory?
It references.
Regulation?
an-
So it started out with the federal government. The federal government is, they started that, and we just took on to it through the state. We have created over 50 in the state of Mississippi.
Yeah, it references the 3315-307 in this agreement, so, that may be where we have to start.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming is this state money or federal money?
State money.
Oh,
State
okay,
money.
so it's a good thing you brought that up, Josh, to remind me. This is MEMA state money through DARP, separate from the Moss Point private account and M&M. This money through DARP is state money. If we get a federal declaration, this money will stop. And we go to a federal level of assistance. But we have no guarantee at this point that we're getting FEMA. And we must move forward regardless of that happening, because we don't know if and when that may happen, because while this is awful for Moss Point, it may not be awful enough to meet the thresholds that have to be met for the government levels.
So let's say you spent some of this $250,000, say you spent $50,000 of
Yes.
it, then you get a federal declaration. Does that federal money repay the $50,000, or how does that work?
So if, let's just say we start off, we do start this program up and going, and we do get a federal declaration, all work will cease, and all work will stop on that funding. The funding that was not spent will be returned back to the state.
But the money that has been spent is just spent. Yeah.
And typically, Josh, how it happens, it comes down in $50,000 increments. So like United Way as a fiscal agent, we would get the $50,000. The committee would say, hey, we got this family needs this family needs this. And so
For rebuilding only.
and we do those invoices, pay those invoices to those contractors. We may have $30,000 left and get the federal declaration, and then those $20,000 we would have to send back to
Right.
them.
So it's not a dump of 250. It is,
increments.
yes.
Yeah, it looks like it's very specific on where the money can be spent.
Yes.
And the county at the end of the day is on the hook for the money if
Yes.
it's misspent. So.
For that money, yes.
And then also, guys, the 5 of you, if you want someone from your district to be on the committee, you can appoint somebody to be on the committee as well.
Is there a defined number of members? Like
No, there are two different levels. There's the committee that comes with the resources, like Catholic Charities, for example. They will come with case management and whatever they're able to help with, and Latter-day Saints will come with their resources, for example. And then there is the sort of executive committee or oversight committee that,
Which is chairman, vice chair,
right.
treasurer, secretary, and all that. And you guys may just want to appoint Brian to be on the committee just as an oversight. So you'll know each step of the way of
yeah.
what we're doing.
The oversight committee would stay very small. But the LTRC committee, as far as bringing resources, it's y'all come if you have money, manpower, and materials to help with. It is not a table to get, it is a table to give. And so if you don't have resources for this particular disaster in this case, then I mean, you're welcome to sit there, but it's not necessary.
Is most of this money for repairing homes, or?
The 250 is only for building materials.
Yeah, but you're not gonna be trying to build homes, are you?
Well, we don't, but for example, there are the organizations, a lot of them faith-based, who have relief arms of their denomination, and they come in and do the building, and they need the materials. And so that is where you match up their resource of licensed and legitimate labor with the materials, and you bring them together.
Okay.
So the materials go to these volunteer groups or church
Correct.
groups, really, and so they're doing it. It's not a contractor doing it necessarily, it's their organization going in there and doing it?
Yes.
Okay.
And it could be a contractor.
It could be a contractor, but that contractor would be another level of having to have some
Right,
type
you have to
of.
submit detail.
What kind of materials are you gonna give them? Because it needs to benefit the individual, not the actual builder.
Correct. Yes. Do you have an example, Meredith, of the materials? Because it's just general.
Right, so
Drywall.
sometimes, yeah, so sometimes people just need the roof fixed, you know, because if you don't fix the roof, the whole house can be a total loss. So it could be the shingles that, you know, I'm not gonna get into details how to fix your roof, because I'm not, you know, but that's one of some of the stuff, all the materials for the roof could be provided to the contractor, volunteer repair.
And then the contractor passes the savings on to the resident who had the house
And you
demolished.
may have, just like they said that, you know, you have rebuild of Moss Point, there's funding there. If it doesn't have any stipulations, you know, let's just say they wanna use some of that money to pay for a contractor, hey, let's fix this roof fixed, that could be done that way. This MIMA's fund cannot be used for, paying for labor.
A big thing, after Zeta, I got to learn about recoverable depreciation, all that, on a personal level, and I really got to talking to these insurance groups and the ones we have. And I said, so you're telling me, say I had an adjuster say you had $10,000, once you take everything out, you're eligible to get, say, $8,000, because you did all your deductible, all that out, and I'm just using 10 as a round number. So you're down to 2. Well, we're only gonna give you 500 until you prove you fixed everything. You gotta foot the bill for whatever the rest of that is. And even if you're insured, there are people, if you're retired and on a fixed income, and they say you gotta spend $5,000 to get the rest of your money back, you may not be able to do that. So I guess this would be something that could fill the gap, even for someone that had insurance.
Correct, and it's gonna be on, you know, you're gonna prioritize like cases, you know, people who are, you know, over the age of 65, people with disability, you know, they're gonna be the first ones, and the ones with the deductible, you know, they could be on the list, but, you know, prioritize.
Well, you know, the way that they make us get really hammered both ways is they raise the value of your house. So that means that percentage deductible skyrockets up, and you'll
Right.
never have to make a payment.
So in a sort of upside down way, we're not having to deal with adjusters and deductibles because there was no insurance to begin with.
Yeah.
Hey, has anybody reached out, or has Habitat for Humanity reached out?
Well, I haven't talked to Chris in particular, but he is on our list. And yes, the Latter-day Saints, a lot of the there are a lot of groups who help come in and like either put tarps on or do chainsaw work or that kind of work. And they have said to us, you know, we also can do rebuilding. And so, yes, they have reached out in that way. I do want to bring up, while we're discussing that, the only volunteer needs we have at this point are if you are able to knowledgeably and safely use a chainsaw and knowledgeably and safely put tarps on. The rest, as far as people off the street, that part we're good with. Now we need the people, we continue to need the chainsaws, the people to put tarps up, and of course, anybody with big equipment that can move the big stuff to the street. But remember, it's all volunteer at this point because there is no declaration to pay anybody. So those are the needs right now besides the long-term needs. So this helps us twofold with the long-term needs through case management and what are your housing, your future housing, what do the options look like? How can we get you into safe housing and getting the trees cut and the tarps properly put on. As you can imagine, when we gave out all of those tarps initially, a lot of the homeowners put them on themselves or had a neighbor or someone just willing to help and they didn't do it correctly. So now even I can go around to the various roofs and tell you which ones need to be redone, done over versus the ones that were done right. So the people who are willing and able to go on roofs, we are at record high temps, as you've heard, triple-digit brutal heat index levels, and the people who are putting tarps on can only stand to do 3, maybe 4 houses in a day because of the heat. So that part has been slow, but you also don't want to send just anybody up on a roof.
One thing we also want to remember is, Moss Point we get hit this time, but next time we don't know what district will be hit. So if you really we want to get everyone's input on this long-term recovery, so that way if it does hit your district, you will have people in court to sit on this committee.
Yeah.
So we really, please get these people, if you have people in your district, get them involved, because this could be your voice, who can let you know what's going on in your district if that's happening. And we've set over 50 of them here in St. Mississippi, myself, Carlos, and Sylvia, so we're here going to support Jackson County.
And we're the only one on the coast without a long-term recovery committee. Jackson County.
Wow.
And you guys know my athletic, I hate coming in second, Randy, you know that.
I know.
Meredith told us, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So, yeah. Even George County has a long-term recovery committee.
I bet we pay for it, though. Okay, Mr. Attorney, where do we go next?
Well, can I get a copy of the formation documents?
Yes, yes.
Because I'm a little bit unclear as to what it looks like structurally. So I can advise the board. I mean, I think in concept, I'm assuming the board would be in favor of something
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
But
Right.
specific legalities of it, which are probably fine.
Yeah, we can send you the bylaws.
Yeah, right, that'd be very helpful. I can take a look at it relatively quickly. And I don't know if this statute 3315-307 dealt with the Mississippi Disaster Trust Fund or the Long-Term Recovery Committee. So if I can just take a look at it, I can advise you relatively quickly, but I'm sure it's fine. I just have to see.
Sure. So that being the case, Jimmy, if we got you the bylaws and you were, as you said, able to relatively quickly advise them, how long do we think it would be before a decision could be made so that we are able to move forward standing up?
Jim,
Well, I think it could be subject to board attorney approval, but I'm not sure I really know exactly what's being passed because I don't, who all's a member of it? Who all signs off on it? I don't think,
And it has signatures on.
Yeah, I mean, is it the county and the city of Moss Point, or is it all 4 cities?
No.
Is it us, the chamber, the Red Cross, the cities?
So the money so MEMA's connection is to the county, so the money would come to Earl's office, and the Earl's office would then bring it here, we got your approval to select that 501c3, and that money will then go to the 501c3 who would conduct the initial payout to the vendors of this material. No money will go actually into any resident's hands. It's not a payback program, it goes to vendors. So that's the reason why the approval has to go through the county, because it has to go through Earl's office. For the MEMA funding? Yes.
For the MEMA funding only.
What's y'all's time frame as far as what to get this?
We'd like to have a meeting of all of the people with the resources a week from today.
And once you see it,
And a meeting with people with their own private resources should be able to happen with or without a committee, right?
Correct.
Private resources to fix their homes?
No, you're saying the people with the resources, I'm taking that to mean like industry and people who've got resources to bring to the table. The only money that's held up until we approve this would be the MEMA money.
Correct.
Any other money would be able to go, the committee could form and do everything, they just wouldn't have the
Yeah.
statutory authority to receive the MEMA money until.
Correct, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, but we need you to agree to stand up an LTRC, and then this is something that is attached to the LTRC, but we can do LTRC without this, but it wouldn't be as effective.
Right.
Yeah, so in that sense, Meredith, I suppose they could do two they could vote two different ways. They can
Right, they
vote
could
first to
agree to
stand
set
up
up
the
the
LTRC. You can vote to stand up an LTRC, and then you can also vote separately on accepting, going into a DARP agreement. So that can be two, it probably is two different votes.
Yeah, that would be fine. Just, this agreement, again, this agreement's probably perfectly fine. I'd like to just read the statute.
Of course.
He wants to be sure what we're getting
Right,
into.
yeah, a blessing to it, and then the LTRC, if the board directs me to review it and set one up, or participate in setting one up, we'll do that as well.
Right.
And I promise you, Jimmy, once you see the bylaws, if I can understand it, and you know, and I was, what, it was 613 in our graduating class, I think I was 612, so if I can understand that.
So we can probably go ahead and assume we'll have a meeting next Monday? Is that too much pressure?
I think that'd be fine.
Okay, and will that'll help?
I mean, well, yeah. The only thing I really would have a question is, who's on the committee? How are they selected to be on the committee? And who ultimately do they have accountability to? And it sounds like it needs to be the county if the money's flowing through the EOC.
For that money,
Right.
yes. The LTRC, the leads of the LTRC you're looking at.
And really,
yeah.
the LTRC, it sounds like to me, is just, it's a 501c3 that's set up to take money and send it somewhere. You could call it anything, but that just happens to be an acronym that's being used.
Well.
Yeah, and you have to have a 501c3 to, you know, Earl in his, you know, his department, you know, they.
Okay.
Mayor, you said, they don't get the money. It's like United Way was, and we've discussed this, because United Way, we hold several different pots of money for several different organizations in the community. So you would definitely have to have that 501. The money wouldn't go to Earl. I mean, it would go to who you designate as a 501c. Right. And they would,
Okay, and so I think we'll do it this way, because an LTRC, while yes, there are documents, there are bylaws, there are agreements of fiduciary responsibility, but there's also just the fact that you and I can call a meeting on Monday and have all of the agencies that have any sort of resources that can start getting these people case managed. We're going to go ahead and do that just unofficially starting Monday. And you all can work on the documentation and all of that. But I already don't like that the 4th of July is in the middle, or is this week, because I would prefer to get, I mean, these people are suffering now, and so you don't need a 501c3 to bring people to a table to say who's hurting and why, and get some initial resources out there. So we're going to start doing that while you get your part signed off on. But
United Way, we're helping
we can only do that for so long, because we will. Yeah, because, yeah. So, but we can only do that unofficially for so long. You know, we have to have this in place. So, because today is 2 weeks, next Monday is 3 weeks.
I had a question, I guess. So on the DARP funding, I see that there's some requirements in here for the county. It seems like we would probably have to have our grants department involved with keeping up with some of this. I think our building and planning department would need to be involved, because there's a lot of building requirements that have to be, boxes that have to be checked.
Yeah, Marcus has been great so far. It's actually a blessing that he was already working the building in Moss Point already. Yeah.
How does the money come? Y'all send us $50,000 and then we put it in a bank account and then we buy materials out of it?
So Earl will put a request in a formal letter to our department, and once our department gets it, we process it through VFA. Once the money comes back, it can be direct deposit into the, you know, the county board of supervisors. That money will then be released to the 501c3 that you select.
The entire amount, $50,000. and it'll be up to us to manage that, maintain the records, and make sure that it's spent properly.
So it would be up to the 501c3, the one that you elect, to keep up their records, to give you can do an MOU. We have, most of our counties have an MOU with their 501c3, physical agent, to send that report monthly, because we request to have a monthly report also.
Yeah, I saw that on here, and the county has specific requirements as well as part of this agreement too. So if you would, could you send a MOU for us to review, or for us to, like an example that we could use for that? I think that would be important.
Great question. Yeah. Good, thank you.
Brian, is your plate too full to be on this committee?
Someone from the county needs to be on the committee.
Yeah, that's why, is your plate?
And it could be Marcus. I mean, it can be anyone you designate. We just ask that it be someone with, like Marcus, who has the building knowledge, or Brian, who has administrative knowledge, or you know, at your discretion, but they need to sort of be able to speak the language, so to speak.
Sure.
Since Marcus isn't in the room, maybe he should do that.
Left, you probably saw the handwriting on the wall.
That's what he gets for leaving.
Well, I don't mind making a motion to approve this pending legal's approval, and that way, once Jimmy approves it, we can get started. I don't mind making that motion.
Does that work, Jim?
Mr. Thomas?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
And I'm gonna send the program details to you guys, to you, to the attorney, and to Brian, I sent it to you all. So that way you can review that, and we have detail on there, because that's something that we wanna make sure is.
Yeah.
Because some people think,
This is what it
it's
is.
not followed through, but
Pending
it is,
your approval.
you know, our connection is to the counties, and, one thing is, electing a 501c3 is really important, because the next time the board meets, it could be, we can have volunteers coming in, and you can't use the money, the board of supervisor pulls that money to the next meeting to get it approved.
Okay.
So that's the reason why it's really important to have an MOU with the board, so that this can, when it can flow straight over to them, they can start the progress of repair.
You want a second? I second it, Ken.
Okay.
I second it.
All right, got a motion.
So the first motion is to, pending legal review on the disaster assistance repair program agreement. That'll be the first motion, then we'll have another one after that.
Mr. Morris seconded it.
All right?
Okay, motion by Mr. Bossard, seconded by Mr. Morris. Is there any discussion? And that means,
Remember, if we do get a federal declaration, the dark funding would not be available.
But the LTRC would continue.
okay, and does this motion mean, once legal approves it, it's done?
As far as this DART agreement is
Yes.
concerned?
Yes. And we will not have to revisit that and vote on it?
Not that issue.
Okay.
And the LTRC as well.
LTRC, I thought was.
We're fixing to do that in
Okay.
another motion. Yeah.
Okay. We all understand the first motion. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
All right. Now the second.
Or the second one, just to instruct legal to proceed forward with the creation of an LTRC, documents of which I will review.
Okay.
Make that motion.
I make a motion on that.
All right, now second that one.
Okay, Mr. Morris made the motion, seconded by Mr. Bossard. Any discussion? My question is, the moment that legal says okey-doke, it's done, it's official, correct?
Well, the LTRC, I mean, we don't even, y'all hadn't even seen it till.
Right, I think we'll have to come back, you instructed me to move forward with the creation of it. I think we'll have to come back to approve that. That could be done relatively quickly, and it's not going to stop the meeting from occurring, like you said, and moving forward with the process. There's just a form of structure I need to create.
Okay.
You need to know how many people are going to be on it, how you get on it, how you get off of it, I mean, all those type of things.
And
Who's in charge of putting people on it?
if everybody's okay with it, it'd be up to the county administrator to put whoever he wants to on there. You're okay with that?
Yeah.
You can put yourself or somebody else on there.
Well, you could select a member from the county,
Yeah.
the employee you think is going to be the best one for that.
Or he can do it. Yeah. I know his plate's full
Yeah.
with budget time
Okay,
right
we
now,
just want to
so-
make sure,
Yeah,
Troy,
it's been a bad
that
time.
that everybody understands that there are two levels
Well, you're
of,
going to have a voting group and you're going to have a
Yes.
membership group.
Right.
And I'm not worried about the membership.
Okay,
Because I would
okay.
hope that everybody that
It
has an
is.
industry or business and
Yes,
church
yes,
comes.
yes.
But you gotta have a certain number of people that
Yes.
vote.
Right.
Yes, that is correct.
And the way we're proceeding, you can have your meeting next Monday, assuming legal is happy.
But the money will flow through the 501c3, right, not the RT, or
Well, the LTRC will will elect a 501c3. In this case, we would like it to be United Way, and that is,
where the money will go.
yes. So he serves as your fiscal agent.
And our CFO, who Kathleen Carroll, she's, 20, just to give you who's gonna be handling the money. Trust me, you definitely don't want me handling the money. But Kathleen, and I just signed a contract with the state for $534,000 last Friday.
For P3.
For our P3 program, our career coaches. And so, but she's 27 years with United Way, and just a subject matter expert when it comes to finances and other nonprofits. Seek her out. She does training and all of that. And as a matter of fact, the state, we just got into this pot of money, this $12 million for career coaches. And last Friday, they were just, first of all, in order to get the money, you have to go through the Horn CPA group. And to get through Horn to even get to the money, and the first go-round, when she submitted our budget and all of that, I mean, it was approved, so, yeah, so we have definitely a Michael Jordan watching over the money.
The P3 pays for next year, coming year?
Yes.
Super, great.
Yes.
Okay, any further discussion on this? We've taken an awful long time, but I think it's certainly worth it. Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries unanimously. Is that it? Thank y'all so much.
Hopefully we never have to do this again. We're gonna make sure that this committee sustains itself.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Okay, Pastor Shirley Stiltner. I'm sorry you had to wait so long, but you are now up. Life Church of Goshen.
Yes, sir. Good morning. So, we are a small church in Goshen, and we offer a food pantry. But when I spoke with one of the representatives about our food pantry, we had talked to him about it because of the fact that we are growing. We're a small church, but our food pantry has taken off. And we can partly thank WLOX for that because they featured us 4 different times on the news. And I just brought some statistics because I really think that the gentleman that I spoke with did not understand the magnitude of what we've been doing to help the Jackson County residents. Our food pantry, we're not government funded in any way. It's all by donations. And so, just to give you a few statistics of how many families that we've helped over the past 4 months. In the month of June, we serviced a total of 757 families in Jackson County. In the month of April, we serviced a total of 739 families. And in the month of March, we serviced a total of 850 families. We rented the convention center 1 month in March, but the cost of the convention center, together with, at that time, we do a special distribution every 4th Wednesday of the month. And that is where we partner with Feeding the Gulf Coast. And they send a truck to Sam's in Daphne, Sam's in Mobile, Costco in Mobile, and a couple of the Walmarts. And all the donations are loaded on that truck, and they are brought directly to our parking lot, dropped in our parking lot. We sort all the food out, and then we prepare boxes. And the Jackson County residents can come through the line. All they have to do is show that they are a resident of Jackson County. We service a lot of people that they may make $5 over the limit, so they can't get any help with food stamps. We have a lot of disabled people we help. We have a lot of elderly that we help. And this last month, like I said, I did talk with one of you gentlemen, and he even said, well, you know, you can use our church parking lot. We're bigger. But we're not really looking to be in a parking lot. The convention center, we rented it last month also. And we have once again grown so much until the chief deputy of the police had to come, and he said, we're going to have to do something different because we were literally causing traffic jams. So I have a meeting with the deputy chief. We talked about it during the food distribution last Wednesday, and we came up with a solution, we believe. And that is we're going to have to start having people come like alphabetically in an alphabetic group to split up the crowds. And instead of doing this 2 hours, we actually distribute all this food in 2 hours time. So we're increasing that to 3 hours, dividing the people up. But last month, as the other lady spoke, the heat was horrendous. And so last Wednesday, in this extreme heat wave, I've got volunteers out there trying to work in the heat. So I had 2 that almost ended up in the hospital. So we rented the convention center last Wednesday and used it, and it works well because, and we actually, I think it was double booked because the library was going to use it later that day, so they let us use it that morning. And we came in at 9 o'clock, got everything set up, and was out by 1 o'clock. And that's a lot of work because 6,000 pounds of food is what we gave out that day. So what I am asking for is, so far we've had to put out, of course, $250 twice to rent the convention center. Every time they drop that shipment of food, we pay 10 cents a pound for it, so that's $600 every time they drop it. This is a community outreach. It does not profit the church in any way, fashion, or form. We're reaching out to the community to be a blessing to the community and help those that are struggling. So we're asking y'all to consider if we can at least get a reduced rate, if we have to have a rate at all. And this would be every 4th Wednesday if the convention center is not booked. And then we also, we don't ever have the exact days. It's kind of a last minute thing because I've earned a reputation with feeding the Gulf Coast that if churches back out of their mobile food pantries, they call me and they say, Pastor Shirley, how about taking this? If you'll take it, we'll give it to you for free. So they've even given us mobile food pantries, which average $750 to $1,000. They've sent it. In May, we gave out 20,000 pounds of food in 2.5 hours. We had so much food to bless our community with. We were able to bless the Home of Grace, the men's center, the women's center. We went into Our Daily Bread. We went to the Lord Is My Help. We gave to all these different, Sue's Home in Ocean Springs. We still had food left over. So we took food to the fire department, to the police department, and to City Hall and blessed them because we didn't want it to sit in our parking lot and go to waste. And we had given and given and given. So we are trying to be a blessing to our community. And we are just asking, once again, we are a small church. We're not a large body. So we're just asking for help to be able to use that convention center if it's available and it's not being used, not booked at that time, that we would be able to use it. And that's all I want.
So are y'all looking to use it just during the summer months when it's hot, or are you talking about year-round?
How about the months that it's hot? Because it's hot in October, and sometimes it's hot in November or December. I mean, you know, it just, but yes, definitely through these hot months.
And y'all aren't.
But I mean, we would like to continue to use it because of the fact that it actually is across from our parking lot.
And y'all aren't using the actual community center space, it's mainly the lobby area is kind
We
of what
used
you're.
the lobby area the last 2 times, just, we lined everything up in the lobby area. Yeah, we came in the side door where the kitchen is, went all the way down that hall that goes all the way across to the other doors on the other side. Then we have to come up, and then we have to go back this way to be able to put enough tables up, to be able to put that spread of food out, to be able to separate it.
Right, and as far as the traffic issues, has that been resolved? Does anyone know? I know there was complaints about that maybe.
I meet with the deputy chief, and like I said, I've already met with him last Wednesday. He came out, we talked, and he said that he thought that it was a very good idea, and that their presence, we have been asking for, I think, 4 or 5 months when everything started just really taking off and we started getting so much food. We had asked for police presence, but we didn't get it until this last Wednesday. And we've done everything we know. We have volunteers, and once again, they're out in the heat. We've got, we use our Facebook page to be able to advertise that we're doing the food giveaway. We do. I always ask people, don't block people's driveways, don't block businesses, you know, but everybody's just not going to obey. So that's why we've gone to the thing, because we had 2 fights break out this last time. And, you know, it's sad.
You know, you guys have adopted rules and regulations that we follow. And so when requests like this come to us, we go by the rules, and the rules don't allow for us to reduce the fee or waive the fee. And so anything special like that has to come before y'all, because it's basically something that's outside of the rules. And, you know, we do have other locations where we allow for like an hourly rental type thing, mostly smaller locations where we rent them out by the hour for small events during the week. And so, I mean, I think, you know, we could do something like that here, or you guys can do whatever you want, but we just need to have it on the record, a resolution or some kind of board order that allows us to do it, because it doesn't meet the rules and regulations that we follow. And that's why we've had to charge you for using the center in the past. So that's where I am. Crystal, do you have anything to say about it?
I think that you pretty much covered, I think, the cars and the traffic issue, I think that's huge. Because we have the library right there as well. So,
Yeah.
Now, if you go to a time by alphabet, then you're gonna be there 5 to 8 hours probably, I would imagine.
Well,
What do you think?
I think we can probably break it down to around 4 hours.
Okay.
Why do you make people register? That, to
They
me,
don't.
that looking at.
Well, they
your-
don't register.
Well, you just said they had to come in, sign in, validate they belong in Jackson County.
Well, we've been doing it drive-through for the fourth Wednesday because it gets people in and out quicker, we thought. But they just have to show a Jackson County ID. And then they have to give us the number in their family. And those statistics, which we keep up with, we turn over to Feeding the Gulf Coast, because they ask you to, keep up with statistics. So that way we know how many people are over 60, how many children are being fed under 18, and then how many's in the household.
Looking at the pictures you had that you submitted to us, you have a long line, at least into the parking area, up to the door of the convention center. And what that tells me is there's a lot of people waiting to get in to get their food, and that means their car is in the parking lot, and that means
Now,
that's what's
excuse me.
causing the backup that's creating the parking problem and on Highway 90 and also with the library. And tell us who the person you spoke to. Is that me? You said you spoke to someone of one of us five?
Yes, that's you.
Okay. Do you know when that was?
Pardon me?
Do you know when that was?
When that was? Probably back in March, wasn't it?
Okay, y'all had, when you did it at your own church, there's certainly no adequate parking. The traffic flowed back onto Highway 90 and really created a traffic problem for Highway 90. I belong to the First United Methodist Church, which is virtually across the street. We work with Feeding the Gulf Coast multiple times, not every month. They come to us and say, hey, we have 6,000 pounds of food, and do y'all want to distribute? And we say, sure. Another guy named Ken there says he rings the bell, everybody shows up, the food truck shows up, we put it into the parking area, and people come in, and there is no backup in traffic, and this is 6,000 pounds worth of food. And I think we did get in touch with you. Our pastor and the other guy named Ken both mentioned they got in touch with you offering our property to have your distribution because we have no traffic problems.
You're the only one that offered
Pardon?
that. You're the only one that offered that. I didn't get any calls from anyone that I remember.
Okay, well, I'll verify
Unless it was
that.
my assistant.
But my pastor told me that she talked to people at your location, and basically, you said, no, this is our church's outreach, so we're not going to use your facility, at which time we said, well, okay.
I don't understand how it would make any difference.
I'm not saying I don't want you to do what you're doing, because it's wonderful what you're doing. If I have any concern at all is I don't really want us to get into the position in the county where we have churches coming up saying, okay, your Goche Convention Center, you're letting that church use it. We want to use this center. We want to use that center. And we just can't get into the business because those things kind of have to sustain themselves from a budget standpoint. So, you know, I'm kind of inclined to say, I don't think we should give you a break in using the facility. And I don't want to apologize in saying that because what you're doing is good. But, you know, you could go to our church and do it. We don't make people sign up. We don't look at IDs or anything.
But we would have to, so therefore we would have the backup at your church then.
Pardon?
We would have to, and therefore we would have the backup at your church next. Because we're trying to get statistics, and we do require people to be in Jackson County because it is a Jackson County outreach.
Well, ours is too. We open it to anyone. And I think we have that thing open. It's either 3 or 4 hours. We've never had a traffic problem, and that's part of my frustration. The way you're doing it is creating traffic problems, which is a problem for the police and the community.
Well, and tell me how you're doing it that it doesn't cost one.
The first thing I would do is just let the people come in, get the food, and we actually help take it to their cars, and they're in and out. I don't think our parking lot is as big, I may be wrong, as the convention center / library.
Right.
And I'm not, again, I'm not trying to be critical, but I guess.
Well, we let people come, well, I mean, we do a food bank, a food pantry every week. Every Wednesday we're there, but we only usually average around 50 to 60 people during the week. Yeah. The fourth Wednesday is the large distribution that we pay the $600 for. Right. So, but
I'll make this easy. Crystal, you know what I'm fixing to say, so I'll take care of it out of my personal. Crystal, I do this for multiple different organizations, so I pay for it out of my pocket. So Crystal knows how to bill me for it, so I'll take care of you once a month.
Why, thank you.
Oh, no problem. We'll get you fixed up. Just work it out with the deputy chief
And you
on the traffic situation.
I can't read your sign.
That's okay.
What's it say, Randy Bosarge?
Yeah, it don't
Thank
matter.
you. Thank you,
I
Mr.
do it because I
Bosarge.
want to do it, so.
Thank you.
But yeah.
Well, you know, I go on Facebook, I went on Facebook Wednesday and I asked, you know, for people if they could help us.
Yeah.
Because like I said, we're a small church, we only run 25
Oh,
to 30 people.
I saw your thing on Channel 13, it was great, so,
Yeah,
yeah.
so-
But no, I'll take care of you. Yeah, don't worry about that.
For 1 month?
I'll take care of you the rest of the year. How about that?
Wow, that's wonderful.
It'll be a donation through my company, but it's not a problem.
Okay, so Supervisor Bosarge is going to contribute to the Liberty Church, and the Liberty Church will
Life Church.
contract with the county for the building.
Life.
Yeah.
Settled, super.
Yeah.
So that's good, we're good through December.
Yes, ma'am.
Just work it out with the community center to
Yeah.
make sure that, you know, those dates are all good and there's not someone
I
else.
already checked and all the Wednesdays are free up until the end of the year.
Just make sure you get with the police department and make that traffic
I
flow a
have an
little.
appointment to meet
Good.
with the deputy chief the
Okay.
week before we do the food distribution.
Okay,
So,
no problem.
All
We'll get
right.
you fixed up.
is that it?
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank y'all.
Okay, we will now move to item number 12, which is action items. Item A is state delegation, item B is federal.
Don't have a lot today. Did want to mention just quickly that we are looking at projects to apply for Go Mesa funds on. We have identified a couple projects that we think may be eligible and good projects for Jackson County. We met with legal last week, and there's a couple of legal questions that we have to answer related to those projects, but the applications will be before you at the next regular board meeting for approval. And that is it.
Okay. Supervisor items, item 13, item A is a resolution appointing Joshua Eldridge to Singing River Mental Health, Mental Retardation Services Region 14 Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion from Mr. Bosarge. Was that Mr. Morris or Mr. Cumbus that seconded? Mr. Cumbus seconded. Discussion. This is a very significant appointment, and I applaud it. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Mr. Cumbus, do you have any items?
I do not.
Mr. Morris?
I'll have you.
I have none. Mr. Ross? Mr. Bosarge? Okay, we need a motion to go into closed session to determine if we need to have an executive session or not.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Morris. I'll second it. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. We are in closed session.